It was a quiet evening in the small town of Elric. The kind of evening where the air seemed to hum with a stillness that made the trees stand a little taller, their leaves whispering secrets to each other. An old man named Elric sat on his creaky wooden porch, nursing a steaming cup of tea and gazing out at the horizon. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose. Elric was a retired clockmaker, a solitary figure who had lived a long, uneventful life. His days were spent tinkering with old gears and mechanisms in his workshop, keeping himself busy while the world outside moved on without him. He had no family left, no one to call his own. The clocks he repaired were his only companions, their rhythmic ticking a steady reminder of time's relentless march. It was on this tranquil evening that something extraordinary happened. The sky above the horizon rippled like a stone dropped into a pond, and a pale, silvery light descended. Elric squinted, shielding his eyes as the light grew brighter. He stumbled to his feet, heart pounding, as the light coalesced into a shape. A figure emerged, stepping gracefully onto the ground. She was unlike anything Elric had ever seen. Tall and slender, her skin shimmered with an iridescent glow, shifting between shades of blue and green. Her eyes were large, almond-shaped, and luminous, holding an ancient wisdom that seemed to pierce through Elric's very soul. Her hair floated around her as if caught in an invisible current, strands of silver cascading like liquid moonlight. "Greetings, Elric of Earth," the alien woman said, her voice melodic and soothing, as if 1,000 harmonies spoke at once. She stepped closer, her movements fluid and otherworldly. "I am Serilith, traveler from the distant star of Calantria. I come to you with a request." Elric's mouth went dry, and he struggled to find his voice. "A request? From me? But I'm just an old man." Serilith inclined her head, her gaze unwavering. "You underestimate yourself, Elric. It is precisely your craft, your skill with time, that has drawn me to you. On my world, the balance of existence is tied to a mechanism that has begun to falter. Our Chronospire, the heart of our time, is failing. We need a master of time, a clockmaker, to restore it." Elric's knees wobbled, and he sank back into his chair. "Restore time? That's beyond me. I fix clocks, not celestial mechanisms." Serilith knelt before him, her radiant presence both humbling and comforting. "The principles are the same. Gears balances harmony. You hold within you the knowledge to save an entire world." Elric's hands trembled as he gripped the edges of his chair. "I'm too old, Serilith. My hands aren't as steady as they once were. My mind, it's not as sharp. And I've never left this town, let alone traveled to another world." Serilith's expression softened, a flicker of sorrow passing through her luminous eyes. "I understand your hesitation, but the Chronospire is not merely a mechanism. It is life itself for my people. Without it, all that we are will fade into nothingness. Time will unravel." Elric looked into her pleading eyes, feeling the weight of her words. He thought of the countless hours he had spent repairing broken clocks, bringing order to chaos. Could he truly bring his skills to bear on something so monumental? Could he really make a difference? "I wish I could help," he whispered, his voice thick with regret. "But I'm not the man you need." "I'm sorry, Serilith." For a moment, Serilith said nothing. Then she rose to her full height, her ethereal glow dimming slightly. "If that is your choice, I cannot compel you. But before I leave, allow me to show you something." She extended a hand, and Elric hesitated before taking it. The moment their hands touched, the world around him dissolved. He found himself standing in a vast crystalline chamber. Towering above him was the Chronospire, a magnificent structure of interlocking gears and spinning rings, all pulsating with a soft, golden light. But even to Elric's untrained eye, it was clear that the mechanism was damaged. Gears were grinding, sparks flying as the system struggled to maintain its rhythm. "This is our heart," Serilith said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "And it is dying." Elric's breath caught in his throat. The beauty of the Chronospire was overwhelming, but so was the sense of its impending collapse. He could see where gears were misaligned, where mechanisms had worn down from centuries of use. It was a problem he could understand, one he could solve. But the scale of it, the stakes, terrified him. "I don't have the strength for this," he said, his voice breaking. "What if I fail?" Serilith placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch warm and reassuring. "Failure is a possibility, as it is in all things. But to do nothing is to ensure the end." Elric closed his eyes, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. When he opened them, they were back on his porch, the night air cool against his skin. Serilith stepped back, her luminous form blending with the starlit sky. "The choice is yours, Elric," she said softly. "But know this. Even the smallest act of courage can change the course of time." With that, she began to fade, her form dissolving into the night. Elric sat in silence, his heart heavy. The thought of leaving his quiet life, of taking on such an enormous task, was overwhelming. But the image of the failing Chronospire, of an entire world's existence hanging by a thread, lingered in his mind. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he sat in his workshop, surrounded by the ticking of clocks, wrestling with his doubts. By dawn, he had made his decision. But as he stepped outside, ready to call out to the stars, he realized Serilith was gone. The sky was empty, the ripples in the horizon stilled. He called her name, his voice echoing into the morning air. There was no answer. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Elric returned to his routine, but something inside him had changed. He began working on a new clock, one unlike any he had ever built before. It was intricate, its design inspired by the Chronospire he had seen. He poured his heart into it, crafting each piece with care and precision. When the clock was complete, it stood as a testament to his resolve, a symbol of the choice he had been too afraid to make. He placed it on his mantle, its golden hands ticking steadily, and wondered if Serilith would ever return. But she never did. As the years passed, Elric often thought of her and the world he had failed to save. He carried the guilt with him, a silent burden he bore alone. Yet, in his heart, he hoped that somehow, somewhere, the Chronospire had found another savior. Someone braver, someone stronger. On the day Elric passed away, the golden clock on his mantle stopped ticking. And far across the cosmos, on a distant, shimmering world, a faint ripple of time steadied, as if acknowledging the efforts of a humble clockmaker who had tried, in his own way, to keep the gears of existence turning.